Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're projecting ourselves forward, just a bit, to August 28th, 2025. Imagine you're in Kerala, India, specifically Thiruvananthapuram. The city is buzzing, vibrant celebrations, flowers everywhere, tributes. It's the 162nd birth anniversary of someone truly monumental, a name whose legacy, honestly, is still reshaping society right now.
That's right. A figure whose impact is, well, it's hard to overstate.
Exactly. We are diving deep into the life of Mahatma Ayyankali, a name that just resonates with sheer courage, a relentless fight against some of the deepest social injustices you can imagine.
And this isn't just history filed away, is it? It feels incredibly current.
Not at all. This is about resilience, about, frankly, strategic genius,
Yeah.
and a vision that still has so much to teach us. So our mission today,
Unpack how one person, born into really the harshest marginalization.
how he didn't just dream of fairness, but fought tooth and nail to fundamentally change Kerala's social structure. We'll look at his, well, sometimes audacious strategies.
And what's fascinating here, as you said, is how relevant his struggles still feel. It's quite powerful.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. To really get the scale of what he did, we need to go back to his birth.
August 28th, 1863. Venganur. A small village, now part of Thiruvananthapuram, but then in the princely state of Travancore.
And Travancore at that time. Can you paint a picture? What kind of world was he born into? Especially being part of the Pulayar community.
Picture one of the most rigidly layered societies imaginable, a real labyrinth of caste rules. And the Pulayars, they were right at the bottom.
It is untouchable.
Literally, their very existence was defined by exclusion. Not just, social snobbery, but codified rules, laws denying basic humanity.
And that meant what in daily life?
Well, primarily agricultural laborers, basically tied to the land, in servitude, they couldn't use public roads freely. Education, out of the question.
And even things like clothing.
Yes, incredibly. Denied the dignity of covering their upper bodies, forced to wear specific markers. It was akin to rural slavery, really. Their lives dictated by upper caste landlords.
Now, his family, they had a bit of land, right? About 5 acres. Did that help at all?
Economically, maybe a tiny bit, a rare thing. But it didn't protect them from the social poison, not at all. He grew up illiterate, seeing these indignities every single day.
So it wasn't just background noise for him.
No, it was the fire. It ignited this absolute resolve. He understood deep down that challenging this wasn't just about making things better, it was about survival,
Yeah.
human dignity itself.
Which brings us to 1893. He's 30 years old.
No.
And he does something audacious. He gets a Villa Von
A bullock cart, yeah.
and he rides it through the public streets of Travancore. Why was that specific act so explosive?
The symbolism was everything. A bullock cart wasn't just transport, it screamed status, reserved for the upper castes.
Right.
So for a Pulayar man, an untouchable, to own one and then ride it openly on roads the Nair community considered theirs.
It was a direct challenge.
Unmistakable. It was like planting a flag, saying, we exist, we belong here, these roads are ours too. It physically broke the rules of segregation.
Seems simple now, maybe, but back then, revolutionary, and the reaction.
Swift, violent, exactly as you'd expect. He was attacked, the cart was attacked.
But he didn't back down. How? That takes incredible nerve.
It does. I think it came from that core conviction. Dignity isn't something you're granted, it's inherent. And his courage, it wasn't just personal, it lit a spark.
It spread.
Absolutely. It inspired others, led to widespread clashes, unrest, known as the Chalier riots.
Riots. How long did that last?
Nearly a year. This wasn't just a scuffle. It showed the authorities this wasn't one man acting out. It was a community waking up.
A whole movement born from one act.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It did, partially. By 1900, the pressure, maybe even some British influence, forced the Travancore government's hand. Pulayars were granted the right to use most public roads. Yeah, roads leading directly to Hindu temples were still off limits. So a partial victory, but still monumental. It proved the system could be challenged. That direct action worked.
Okay, so access to roads. That's huge. But Ayyankali knew that wasn't enough, right? He saw something deeper.
He did. He understood profoundly that real freedom, true liberation, needed intellectual freedom. Education.
How radical was that idea then? Focusing on education for Dalits.
Utterly radical. I mean, think about it. Traditional schools, strictly upper caste territory. Missionary schools existed, yes, but often had their own barriers, conversion costs.
So education was just unthinkable for most players.
Pretty much. Ayyankali saw it as the absolute key, the path to economic mobility, social respect, breaking the cycle. But the challenge was massive, overcoming centuries of upper caste prejudice, yes, but also,
Also within his own community.
yes, overcoming a kind of ingrained fatalism, maybe, and the sheer economic desperation. Families needed children to work, not sit in schools with no obvious immediate payoff.
But he pushed. There was a government decree in 1907 supposedly allowing access.
Nominally, yes, but on the ground. Local resistance made it almost useless. Doors remained shut.
So Ayyankali, being Ayyankali,
Yeah,
he took direct action again.
exactly. 1914, he personally walks a young Pulaar girl, Panchami, into a government school in Ortumbalam. Just enrolls her.
Wow. And the reaction to that?
A firestorm, literally. The school was burned down, a violent, stark message. You are not welcome here. Your children will not learn.
Unbelievable. How do you even respond to that level of hate?
Well, Ayyankali's response was, again, strategically brilliant. He connected the dots between social rights and economic power.
How so?
He organized the agricultural laborers, the very people whose oppression fueled the economy, and they went on strike.
A strike? For education?
For education, yes, but also for fair wages, for rest periods. It was one of Kerala's first major organized labor strikes. He linked the denial of schooling directly to their economic exploitation.
It's incredibly sophisticated thinking for the time, understanding the system like that.
It really was. He essentially told the landowners and the government, deny our children education, deny us dignity, and we withhold the labor your system depends on. He hit them where it hurt.
And did that work?
It forced concessions. The government had to address the demands. By 1910, already, broader access to public education for Dalit children was becoming a reality, pushed by this pressure. He knew you had to fight on multiple fronts.
And he wasn't just fighting, he was building. He founded an organization.
Yes, the Sadhujana Paripalana Sangam, the SJPS, in 1907. Its purpose was clear: establish schools specifically for the Pulaar community, run by the community, taking control.
And his focus wasn't just on boys, was it? The emphasis on women's education seems particularly forward-thinking.
Revolutionary, truly. He didn't just talk about it. The SJPS set up schools for Dalit girls, and personally he supported his own daughter, Kalyani,
It became
one of Kerala's very first Dalit women graduates. He understood, fundamentally, that you cannot uplift a community if you leave half of it behind.
No.
Educating women changes everything. Families, future generations, social norms. It's a long-term transformation.
amazing. So roads, schools, but dignity was also about the body itself, wasn't it? This rule about lower caste women not covering their upper bodies.
Yes, and being forced to wear the kulumala, those heavy stone bead necklaces.
Just constant visible markers of inferiority,
Yeah.
designed to humiliate.
Absolutely, a public assertion of dominance. So Ayyankali took that on too. He was inspired by an earlier fight, the Chanar Revolt, where other marginalized women had fought for and won the right to cover themselves.
So he launched a campaign against the Kalimala and the covering rule.
He did. It was about reclaiming basic self-respect, bodily autonomy, challenging that visual enforcement of the caste hierarchy.
And he succeeded.
By 1916, yes. His advocacy secured the right for Pulaar women to cover their upper bodies. Sounds maybe small to us now, but imagine the psychological impact. Reclaiming that personal dignity after centuries of forced humiliation, it must have been incredibly empowering.
It really puts things in perspective. These weren't small things at all. They were fundamental assertions of humanity.
Exactly. Each victory chipped away at the edifice of oppression. Challenging the symbols is as important as challenging the laws.
And his fight moved beyond the streets and fields, right, into the halls of power itself.
Yes, 1912. A major breakthrough. He was nominated to the Sri Mulam Popular Assembly of the Praja Sabha.
Making him the first Pulaar representative ever.
The very first. Imagine that. A voice for the voiceless, right there in the legislative body of Travancore.
What did he do there? How effective could one voice be against that entrenched system?
He used that platform relentlessly. He didn't just sit there. He advocated constantly for better working conditions, fair wages, access to public services, specifically highlighting the plight of Dalits.
So he brought their reality into the room where decisions were made.
Precisely. His very presence challenged the legitimacy of a system built on exclusion. It forced the elite to confront the human cost of the caste system in a way they couldn't ignore.
And then there was the spiritual dimension. Temples, another huge barrier.
The massive one. Hindu temples were strictly off-limits, a core tenet of untouchability. Ayyankali started campaigning for temple entry very early on.
Oh, really?
As early as 1895, he led a group of Dalits to try and worship at the Balaramapuram temple, open defiance of the priests who saw their presence as polluting.
That took immense courage facing down religious orthodoxy like that.
It did, and he kept at it for decades. He built alliances, too, crucially, with other reformers like Sri Narayana Guru, who also envisioned a casteless society. This wasn't a lone fight, it became a sustained movement.
Decades of struggle.
Yeah.
Did it eventually lead somewhere?
It culminated in a landmark moment, 1936, the Temple Entry Proclamation.
Issued by the Maharaja himself.
Yes, Maharaja Chithira Thirunal Balarama Varma. It officially abolished the ban on lower castes entering Hindu temples throughout Travancore, a huge victory, dismantling a cornerstone of religious discrimination.
Wow. So roads, schools, dignity, political voice, temple entry, the scope is just incredible.
It truly is. He passed away in 1941, age 77, but the legacy, it's immense. Historians like P. Sanal Mahan call him the most important Dalit leader of modern Kerala.
And Gandhi called him the Pulaya king. Indira Gandhi, India's greatest son. High praise from figures like that.
Deservedly so. His work wasn't just about winning specific rights. It was about fundamentally changing the conversation, changing the social and political DNA of Kerala.
And that legacy isn't just in history books. It's alive today, isn't it? That date we started with, August 28th.
Ayyankali Jayanti. It's a public holiday in Kerala every year. The ceremonies, the tributes at his statue in Valayambalam Square. It's a living recognition of his impact.
And leaders today still reference him constantly.
Absolutely. You hear figures like Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan talking about how Ayyankali empowered the oppressed to challenge the whole caste landlord system, how the Viluvandi journey, the Kalumala struggle, were direct blows against that dominance.
Even the opposition leader, V.D. Sathisen, calls him irreplaceable.
Yeah, recognizing his foundational role in Kerala's progressive identity, there's broad consensus on his importance.
So what was it about him? What made him so effective, so ahead of his time? He was illiterate, yet had this incredible strategic mind.
I think it's that combination. Illiterate, yes, but profoundly insightful. His protests weren't just emotional outbursts, they were calculated moves. He saw the system, its weaknesses, and he attacked them strategically.
He built things, too, like the SJPS.
Right, he didn't just protest. He built frameworks for collective action, empowering his community. He forged alliances. He understood the need for broader support. And somehow, his work transcended the local, gaining national attention, even Gandhi's. That speaks volumes.
It's interesting. Minister O.R. Kelu apparently noted, even in 2025, that despite progress, caste issues and economic gaps still exist in Kerala.
And that's the crucial point, isn't it? Ayyankali's struggle isn't entirely over. His story is a powerful call to action, even now.
For us, for you listening, it makes you think. It pushes us to look at our own societies, doesn't it? To see the injustices that still linger.
And to learn from his methods. Peaceful, persistent protest, community organizing, strategic advocacy. These tools are timeless, still incredibly relevant for any fight for equality today.
What a life. We've covered so much. The bullock cart, the fight for schools, the battle for dignity and dress, getting a seat at the table in the assembly, demanding entry into temples. He really did reshape Kerala.
From the ground up, transforming a society built on exclusion into one striving, however imperfectly, for equality.
And his story, it really does leave you with something, doesn't it? It challenges you. His courage in taking those first steps. Riding that cart, enrolling Pachami, demanding women be allowed to cover themselves.
Actions that might have seemed small or futile to some at the time.
Exactly. But they remind us that the fight for justice is ongoing.
Yeah.
And that every single act, every voice raised, every bit of courage shown, it actually counts. It matters.
It really forces you to ask, what are the forbidden roads or closed doors in our world today? What injustices persist? And drawing inspiration from Ayyankali, what seemingly small, audacious step can each of us take? How can we help build that future where equality isn't just a nice idea, but truly a lived reality for absolutely everyone?